Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Welcome to the BOF podcast, episode 228. I am your host, Peter R. Verra, and today I am going to be arguing with one of my favorite people, the beanie king of the West Coast, Captain Graybeard, Justin Kowalski. Justin, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. FYI, if you wear a beanie and you were in the tri-state area, you're going to be accused of a robbery or being
beanies aren't really
boyfriend.
worn. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Beanies aren't really worn in Jersey. They're just
I don't know. I've seen videos.
That's like snowy weather type stuff. We tough it out here. Our ears don't get cold. So
I'm freezing here in my
California's
garage,
70 degrees. They got to put on the sweatshirt and sweatpants.
It is
the
like,
ski boots.
It's 55 degrees right now, dude. I'm freezing to do this show for you.
I don't expect anything less from a man who comes from an area of the country that wants their bagels like hollowed out before they're eaten.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I saw a video about some guy from California going into a New York bagel shop, and I think he wanted his bagel hollowed out, or he wanted it like gutted. So he wanted the bread portion to be taken out, and the guy at the bagel shop was like, "The hell are you talking about?" Like literally, that's what he said. Like I think he was like in Brooklyn of all places, and
what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, like bacon, egg, and cheese, you jackass.
I don't know anything about that.
Apparently that's like a California thing. You get the inside of your bagel taken out.
No, we literally have a place out here called New York City Bagel. That's how bad we want it. We want to be authentic so bad.
Yeah, there's something about the water in the tri-state that makes the bagels and the pizza different. That's what everybody says, but then again, I don't leave civilization, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, well, one day, Pete, when I get out there, I'm gonna have all the pizza and bagels.
Yeah, go for
Your
it.
way. I'm not gonna.
My cousin Rachel moved to Georgia, and whenever she comes back up here, she'll buy like 20 pizzas and have them like frozen and like freeze delivered or however the hell she does. I don't know how she does it, but she buys like 20 pizzas and brings them back home.
That's a business right there.
Because apparently it tastes better than the pizzeria down there. But
yeah,
that's I think we've covered the small talk portion of the show.
Yeah, let's get into
this is kind of like an emergency podcast here. Me and good old Kowalski, we got together because we started yelling at each other via text message. Over the recent James Gunn, what is it, a thread? Like, what do you call this thing?
I don't know. I think it's a thread. I'm not on threads, man.
You love threads. You follow
threads.
thread cool kids.
Yo.
Well, actually, I think Bill's on threads, so he's one of them.
Yeah, Bill's on threads. I don't know.
Bill and like the Zaddy rejects. So
it's a safe place.
Yeah, somebody asked James on threads if Reeves's Batman saga was going to end before the production of The Brave and the Bold, and Gunn said no, and it really sparked an interesting thing on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call that, Elon Musk machine, where everyone started arguing about everything, whether whether it was too confusing because you can't have two Batman simultaneously, to the fact that if you don't like comic book Batman enough, whereas it kind of took over. People were taking shots at everybody, so I just figured me and Justin would do it out vocally, because I think it's a lot easier. Because I think we actually have a lot more in common than we do different. There's only so many characters and so much patience we have to text message. So I figured we'd go about it. Yeah, in regards to the Reeves overlapping with the DCU, I feel like we've been hinted at that from Batman on Film a long time now. I feel like Bill is really kind of he's mentioned this before. This shouldn't be new news that possibly the
Yeah.
third movie of the three Reeves the Threeves. We should call it that, the Threeves.
Yeah, the
The
three.
Threeves trilogy. The Threeves trilogy. And apparently Andy Muschietti's Batman Brave and Bold. Like we've known for a while that there was a good possibility that these two Batmen would intersect. Now, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that's totally up for debate.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are in the camp of at least I am. You should wait till one's done. I'm actually a firm believer of I think we need like 4 years before the next Batman. I don't think we should just get into it. I think there's got to be some time. I don't think you should just jump right into the next thing. That's me.
Yeah.
That's where you and I seem to differ
Yeah.
a little
I'm
bit.
actually more I agree with that actually. Like it's nice to have a little bit of a palate cleanse. Uh but the situation's actually really weird. Like
Mhm.
the whole like again, yeah, this argument kind of came up yesterday, but it's been going on for a bit ever since James Gunn announced his slate, right? Like a year ago, he's like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do,
Mhm.
Batman, Brave and the Bold, whatever. Um uh this whole Warner Brothers makes some wild decisions, man. Like
That's true.
the fact that they greenlit a Batman movie that was disconnected with what they were doing was kind of an odd decision pre any of this, like back in 2017, right?
Mhm.
When it was supposed to be a continuation and then it wasn't and whatever. So once that was like, oh, this is not connected to what they're already doing. That's interesting. It seems like they're trying to build a universe. Okay. So right there, that's already a weird situation. And so now it comes out, there's some mild success to it. And so they want to build off of it, but it's like they're doing two separate things. So it is a weird spot. James Gunn's in a weird spot where I'm not going to shut this thing down because people like it, but it definitely doesn't make sense to fold into like a wider DC universe. Like people who say that, I just think they're clueless. Like that the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves Batman just doesn't fit in a world,
Those are
right?
people who are just looking
Yeah,
through it with fan eyes. They want Batman and
yeah,
Superman together.
yeah. But it just
They're a lot
doesn't
of
make
what I
like it
accuse you to
doesn't
be
make any
most of the
sense. Say what?
time. That is what I accuse you to be most of the time.
Well, but here's the thing. I think I also understand like tonally that Batman just doesn't work with a
Yes.
universe, right? It just doesn't make sense. And so I can put that hat on and be like, nah, it doesn't make sense.
I also don't
Um,
want them to force feed anything. Like
yeah,
whether it's a slate of films or shoving one character, whether shoving an existing character into a new universe, shoving characters we haven't seen into somebody else's movie. Like I am not somebody who wants to have my essentially my Thanksgiving plate all mixed together into a giant
yeah,
pile of like mashed potato, gravy, and peas. Right? Like I
yeah.
kind of want them separated a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's actually that's a good illustration of what I think makes sense. Like, uh, just kind of putting a pin in the whole like Matt Reeves Batman should not be folded into the DCU. Like, if people who think that, I think that's just it's kind of a bizarre thought. I'm like, y'all don't get it. You don't understand the tone and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So there's that. The the post I put out yesterday, it was a little tongue in cheek, but it was also, you know what? Like I liked the Batman. You know what my gripes are. It's typically I just don't
Yes.
like the aesthetics of it, whatever. I think the,
Mhm.
the ending
Which is a
scene is
common gripe.
yeah. It, the ending scene, I think, is one of the most heroic Batman scenes on film, where he's saving everybody when he lights
Mhm.
the flare, leads everybody
Mhm.
out of the Coliseum, whatever, saving people with the National Guard. Like all that stuff's rad. I love that. That like that's like you can't get more of a perfect
Mhm.
heroic Batman scene. But I mean, but I also have to be honest to like how I feel. Like I'm not stoked on his take on the Joker, and you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
if that's even moving forward, who knows? He may go, yeah, that was a bad idea. Let me like make this a little more, uh, accurate. I don't know, but overall, I'm just kind of over the grounded, realistic armored Batman take that's kind of been the last 15 years of on film stuff, minus the visual of like Affleck in
Mhm.
BBS, right? I do want to see more of that comic book Batman. That's where it excites me. I don't think we got a comic book style. And when I say comic book style, all
I
this,
see. This is where you and I start to
well. Here's the
nitpick
thing:
each
when I
other.
say comic book, all this stuff is derivative of the comics, right? Keaton's is a comic book Batman. Pattinson's a comic book Batman. It's all from the comics. That's where it's rooted in. I think when I say, like, when people say comic book, they want a comic book Batman. They want to be able to explore some of the other ideas that are in those books that haven't necessarily been in the films. Like you don't get all of that. You're not getting the Bat family. You haven't got a lot of the stuff that people would like to see in some of those, like,
I mean,
those grounded takes,
I don't.
right?
But how many people out there, honestly, outside of our fandom, are craving for Robin and Batgirl? Like, just to be as
Yeah.
someone who loves Dick Grayson and is surrounded in a room with various Dick
Yeah.
Grayson statues and action figures. Is Dick Grayson like someone that we're dying? Like, we're getting Damien in The Brave and the Bold. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
going to create somewhat of a conversation, whether it's good or bad, with the general audience. Because I don't think many of them know who Damien is. I'm willing to say
Yeah.
it's under 80% of the
Oh yeah. It
DA know who
probably
Damien is.
95%.
Right? Like, much less
Yeah.
Stephanie Brown, Carrie. I mean, Carrie Kelly's got
Yeah.
a little bit more exposure recently, even on Gotham
Yeah.
Knights. Nobody watched it, but she was on that show. You know, Tim Drake, even, like, sorry, Haas. Like, I don't know how many people know who Tim Drake is. So
Yeah.
when you say Bat Family, like, I just don't, like, if you
Well,
throw
and
Batman
I'm
with
not,
a
I'm
bunch
not
of sidekicks, like, if you throw what's his name out there, the Signal, like, everyone's gonna be like, who the hell is this yellow
Yeah, but
guy?
I'm not saying bring like 20 characters into it. I'm just saying the opportunity
I mean, isn't that kind of
to.
what Superman Legacy is?
No, I don't think so either. I think what, like, that argument, it could even, like, us talking, it could be extrapolated many different ways. I'm not saying
Okay.
bring the Signal in and bring in, Spoiler, and bring in all these other characters, right? But the possibility to explore them could be cool later on down the line. What I'm getting at is, I would love to see a Batman in his prime that is part of the DC universe, but it doesn't mean, again, it doesn't have to be connected into every other film, right? I'm not saying that at all. And your Thanksgiving plate idea makes sense. Like, we all exist on a plate, right? And you got your mashed potatoes, you got your, what's Batman? Batman's probably the dark part of the turkey, right? Like, there's Batman, right? He's
Yeah.
he's the dark part of the bird. That stuff doesn't have to hit the green beans, right? It might
No,
one time,
you're right.
it might one time, but it can completely exist on its own. And I think that's where I feel like James Gunn gets it, because if you look at his Guardians films, minus a couple tethers, they're pretty standalone, right?
They are, but
Except,
that's because those characters allow them to be standalone. They're flying around in a spaceship. They're different. They're essentially, they don't interact with the Earth characters. They're off on essentially off world, right?
yeah,
So
except in, like, Endgame and Infinity War, and then there's a little bit of Thanos, like
the
a little
event
bit of the
films, they
Thanos
come
story.
together. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
but that's what Aquaman and Wonder Woman essentially were DCEU wise, and those movies they seem to thrive. And what, the shared universe part of this really comes into conflict because a lot of people don't agree. A lot of people say it's stifling, but then you have the success of the MCU.
yeah.
I just, to me, I'm at a point with that where I'm just like, we've come to a part in movie going where we're expecting something else, whether that's the return of, like, the real action hero or the
Mhm.
lower budget movie or whatnot. I think the CBM genre has to adjust and change. I
Yeah.
just
Oh,
honestly do.
100%.
We've
100%.
talked, we've all talked about scaling back. Like, we want to throw more characters and stuff on Batman. I think we have to scale back Batman entirely. Like, if we're gonna do sidekicks and get to that point, I said this in our text. I don't want to get an episode like, as much as I love it, it's my favorite of the show. I don't want old wounds. I don't want to have Batman, Nightwing, and Batgirl on a rooftop talking about the broken relationship between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne. I want to experience it. That's why, like, I want to see the buildup of this stuff. That's why, like, again, I feel Warner Brothers, DC, whoever's making this movie is still putting cart before horse and trying to get there a little bit half-assed, because
Yeah.
they're throwing us into a world where all these characters already exist and we haven't actually seen a stepping stone yet. Sometimes I wonder if it's just too much to digest at one point.
Yeah.
That's a
I
huge
actually,
concern for me. for all
Yeah.
these characters.
I love the old wounds idea though. Here's because I think majority.
But how
of
great would
people-
that be to get to after like 4 movies?
Yeah, but but here's the thing. Like
We all talk about how great Endgame was, how that payoff was amazing, and how
Yeah.
nothing else has reached it. Don't you want something like that for Batman?
if you think we're gonna get 12 years of Batman films, I don't think that's gonna happen. You're gonna have to put that in a.
I don't know. Like if it's successful, then yes. If it's not, then we won't even get Brave and the Bold. Like if Superman's legacy is a huge hit, then it may spawn this gigantic domino effect of just success. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we don't know.
If it's a huge failure, it's going to stop there, and they're going to start at some other point.
Yeah. Here's what I know. Here's what I know is if we just have to go based on the slate, right? And so what James Gunn is
which is
announced,
already changed according to Gunn.
I didn't see any.
He put a post where he's like, he's like, we've moved things around. Some things are happening. Some things are not. The slate's already changed. He hasn't announced a new slate, but he said things have already changed.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's all Amazons. I'm not doing that show. I don't know. I imagine the major tentpole things like Superman, Supergirl.
I think Supergirl got bumped up. I think that was a huge change. It feels like they're really. I personally, I think it did.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident in that.
Regardless of like what's moved around or whatever, I don't see that stuff as a mess or
it's not a mess yet because we haven't heard of it. Like usually when it comes to Warner Brothers, we hear everything.
Yeah.
I know DC is an off branch, but like it's their own studio now, but still like they're in the same lot. Like it's still going to be.
So, but here's the thing: Gunn has a story to say. Gunn is in charge, and Gunn is going to say, "Hey, you know what? Here's the thing: Batman is part of the story." He said that. So Batman's an integral part of the story that I'm telling, whatever that means. He probably doesn't want to wait till 2030 to put Batman out there. He just doesn't want to.
I understand that because he's your biggest character.
Yeah. You got to use
the
him.
Moneymaker. He saved you. And in fact, you used him to try to save the last universe.
Yeah. So I think we're probably 3 years away or so from seeing a new cinematic Batman. And and I think Pattinson stuff is different enough that it'll be fine for the folks that really love it. They'll see it. It'll have a nice little DVD collection when it's all done, or Blu-ray collect, whatever you want to call it. It'll all be completed and packaged nice with the Penguin and whatever else happens.
I mean, there's a good chance that whoever is in the general audience just thinks that whatever comes next is a continue of what happened before.
Maybe. I mean,
to be honest, remember there are a lot of people who thought Begins was a prequel to '89.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I mean, I bring that up all the time, but it's the truth. Like, some people just don't care. Some people literally just want to sit and be entertained for 2.5 hours.
That's true. And I always use my brother-in-law and my sister as the barometer. They thought Ben Affleck was Christian Bale's Batman.
Yeah, but do they care? No, and
they don't care. They're just like, oh, we just thought that was just Batman moving on.
Also, just for a second, does it affect how much they like the Dark Knight, knowing that Affleck's Batman was kind of soured on? Like, do they care? No, they don't. They don't.
No, they don't care.
I have to say, like, if you like something, no one can take it away from you. So stop reacting like that.
Yeah, but going back to I mean, I lost track of my point. So the whole Matt Reeves stuff, like it'll do what it does, and we'll see. Maybe part two doesn't do well. Who knows? Like, we don't know, right?
That's a huge possibility. Part 2, the Batman could not do well. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
It could be horrible.
Yeah, but whatever happens, Gunn's going to do what he wants to do to tell the story he wants to tell. And I think in that story, they're choosing Damian Wayne for a reason. I think they're like, hey, let's do something different. He mentioned these DC films are going to be Star Wars, like in the sense they can bounce around timelines. And so going back to your old,
how often does Star Wars do? As someone who doesn't watch Star Wars and doesn't care about Star Wars, how many popular, well received? Because you guys are Star Wars fans are probably the weirdest bunch of them all. How many of those properties and shows are received positively? Like how many? I know there's Mandalorian, but I don't know where it takes place. I know people love it.
Yeah, Mandalorian takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Loves anything else? Okay.
Yeah, and so like there's that era of time, right? But then like the last bunch of movies takes place like 30 years after that, and so you have multiple timelines going on. And then you have like the stuff that just came out, the Ahsoka stuff. Then you have Andor.
So it's all over. It's all over.
Yeah, it's in different. It's in different parts of the time. And so with that, he can go, hey, Brave and the Bold takes place, 10 years after Legacy. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But I actually like the idea of like maybe there is a Nightwing scene and it's him and Batgirl and they're on the roof, and then it's like, hey, I was Robin before I did this. Bruce needs to work through this, yada yada yada. And there's a quick flashback because
yeah, but I still think that works better in like season 3 than it does in the first.
Yeah,
appearance.
maybe, but like, do I need to see like 5 years of movies of Dick Grayson as Robin? No,
No,
like,
you don't, because you just
significant's
said you
gonna
can
happen.
jump all over the timeline.
Yeah, the significant, like, if you look at Dick Grayson as Robin, he didn't have a whole the best part of Dick Grayson as Robin was once he became Nightwing. All of the flashback stories are the best stories because it was just the way comics are written there.
I will agree.
Yeah.
Grayson didn't really get written until Marv. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
like I think that's your best stuff. So give us a little bit of flashback stuff here and there, and I think you get kind of the you can synthesize that relationship in flashbacks and whatever if you want to go there, if that's what they're going to do, right? That's all my thought is on that. Like with that kind of a Batman, you are able to tell different stories that we've never seen on screen. I think when you just continue to keep Batman grounded, it almost is like, okay, like I've seen grounded Batman, and I'm not. And then the joke and the extreme side is like, I don't want Batman in space fighting parademons either, right? Like there's a.
It's not that I don't want him wearing a stupid fishbowl helmet, looking like
I don't think anyone
the
wants
Great
that.
Gazoo. Like
Who wants that?
I mean,
No
you
one wants that.
I
don't want that.
Helmet.
It's my joke, but I think Grant Morrison did a great job of balancing what does Batman look like when he's in some of these crazy situations, right? Batman stays back when he needs to stay back,
But what does it say about the fact that the only Batman it seems to be, even if we go back to like, it seems like just grounded Batman seems to be what works outside of our bubble. Like I know, like you have 89, which is more of a gothic take, but it still seems very realistic, right? It's more of a timeless piece.
Well, that was my thing. I think that's the tone.
Because like when
Batman
you think
works.
fantastical, I think Batman Forever with less, less Riddler laugh. Like,
I don't want See, I think fantastical's too far down on the right. You don't want to go to the fantastical like that.
You want to teeter the line.
I'm saying something between 89 and
it's Forever, because Forever's just lighter.
I for my brain, I can't do Forever. I would go.
I don't know why you hate Forever so much.
I don't hate Forever. I don't like all the garish color and like some of the interpretations of the villains. It's too zany.
I'm with you. The villains, I think the villains are the big reason why Forever is considered goofy. Because if you look at Kilmer is trying to play this Red Diary kind of Batman Forever. He's trying with all of his might. And, like I said, it's all about, if the Bat wants to play, we'll play.
Yeah. I would say it's somewhere between 89 and when I say BVS, I don't mean the take. I'm thinking the tone, a little bit of a tone, minus the blowing people away. Like Batman needs to not kill, that type of stuff. Like,
yeah, that's always bothered me about Keaton.
Yeah, Keaton, but I think that and not Returns. I'm talking Batman 89. The way the city is, I think the way the tone and the lighting, I think that's the perfect tone for Batman. I think people get it. He could be a superhero. He could experience something a little nuts.
I still think that's a grounded take in the sense of it's Batman versus the mob, and the Joker is basically he's basically the new mafia.
It's not grounded if a guy falls into a vat of acid and becomes a clown, right? like he bleached out.
It's still Batman, but there's nothing really magical or myth, right? Like the mythical part is Batman being surrounded by fog, in shadows. Like that's what makes it like that makes it more gothic than anything else. But like in the sense of it's still very crime oriented. Like it's not it's not a Superman. Like a Superman film is way more fantastical. It just by nature. It has to be because your main character is invulnerable. Like Batman, at least he's walking around in body armor, right here, right? He's essentially just like
but that's the other thing. I don't want to see the body armor. I want to assume it's there, but just
no, it's fine. If you want the Affleck looking suit, I can't argue with that. That's fine. Like that's another thing too. Like don't.
I want a yellow oval. That's what I want.
I got a few. Like don't come at me telling me I don't like comic booky Batman. That was another thing. I was like, give me a break, please. I got imps all around me. It's like, what are you talking about here? You listen to the show?
Yeah, it just comes down. It just for me, it just comes down to I'd like to see something different. And when I say that, like we haven't really got an honest take on the comic book Batman. That Justice League and BVS, those things weren't. Though they missed the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking about.
Like I still think there's a lot of good in Forever, especially with
Yeah,
Robin.
it's fine. Yeah, maybe.
Like if you want to tell me the problem with Dick Grayson is we've seen it already, I can't argue with that.
I don't think we didn't get but we got a college age Dick Grayson. I want a 12-year-old kid. I'm
more of like a 15-year-old, someone who can bring maybe at least has his permit, like 16, 17, something like that. I'm fine with the more,
yeah,
a teenager, more of an older Robin. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see fans seem to get a little carried away. When they're like, oh man, I can't wait. Comic book Batman. It's about time. It's finally here. I'm like, hold on. Like in my opinion, BVS is very comic book Batman. Various aliens, Dead Robin Memorial, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen him interact with the entire Justice League. Like I was like, we just got comic book Batman.
I mean, we
that's why I think the Reeves stuff is good, because again, I think it's a good palate cleanse, and it might work this way, a nice transitional piece into the next, because they will be so different. There's no way Gunn will do this dark, somber Kurt Cobain Batman. It's not his thing. It's not his style. Like the music's just not upbeat enough for his soundtrack, and that's fine. But there's just
but see, I don't think that's the thing either. I don't think Gunn's gonna like make it a needle drop movie for Batman. Like it doesn't make sense.
No, I'm not saying that, but it just doesn't vibe with Gunn. It's not his. The soundtrack of Gunn's life, that Kurt Cobain Batman isn't there. Right? Like it doesn't play in his playlist. I was trying to make like a music reference, I guess.
Gotcha.
Hey y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor.
I also am just weary of, we just were here, it didn't work, and you're jumping.
Why didn't it work?
Here's the thing, because I liked most of it though. That's another thing too. Like outside of Gotham the TV show and Spider-Man Far From Home, I pretty much like everything. Like we talk about this all the time. Like I don't dislike anything. So I actually enjoyed the DCEU. So and I enjoyed the Snyder movies that are very controversial. But with every DCEU movie, I said I like it, I enjoyed it. I get why other people don't. So I'm in that weird phase where I actually didn't hate what came before. I was fine as long as they were tweaking and adjusting things as they were going on, as long as they were trying to, they were always course correcting, and I always thought they were trying to do their best. So I went with it. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I like Black Adam. I enjoyed, a lot of things more than most people. So, I just wonder, if it's the right thing to do to jump into another, and this is another shared universe so fast, so quickly, when what happened just didn't work.
Yeah.
And with the way the landscape of the movie going audience seems to have gone, no one's still going to the movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they are. They're just not watching what they used to. And and it goes beyond that.
I think the there's a genre, shift in favoritism. People are attracted to other things. They're just visually.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, Fast and Furious didn't do what they thought. Mission Impossible didn't do what they thought it was going to do. So there's other movies that have come out. They're like, oh, that didn't connect like we thought. I think people were banking on Mission Impossible to blow up because Top Gun blew up. Is it about Tom Cruise?
Usually you bank on Tom Cruise and Kevin Feige, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Those are usually they for the last 10 years they've been the constant.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom Cruise made The Mummy. Okay, he's thrown in a couple duds, but it's because he makes so many movies, it's gonna happen.
Well, I just think no one cares about The Mummy, dude. Come on.
Well, I just with a man you're not going to bat 1,000. I'm just going to say it like that.
Well, yeah, everyone has that was. And
I don't hate The Mummy either. I actually kind of like it. It's weird. It's a weird mummy movie, especially when they go all zombie. But I like underwater zombie. But I kind of dig that. I like that. As someone who likes who works with Eric Holzman and loves Aquaman, I dig underwater mummy zombies. But I don't know. It just is it just too like should you take a break from trying to do that and do something different because that's again palate cleansing, fresh, something new. You're not repeating yourself. You're not trying to copy what somebody else is doing. Like I have a lot. People want to tell me I'm negative about this stuff. I'm not negative. I'm friggin' nervous.
You're hurt. You're hurt.
I'm nervous because if they screw up again, it's
Yeah.
dead. It's done.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. They can't wait. They have to put a Superman movie out. Like they got to put a Superman movie out like every few years.
It's the type of Superman movie we're getting that I'm concerned about.
We don't know what we're getting.
Yeah, again, just from what I can from what I know, just cast wise and what he's doing and who's in it, I could say I'm not really digging this. I have to wait and see. That's where I'm friggin' nervous. I'm concerned. That's what it is. It's not negativity. It's not doubt. It's concern.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Like, illustration wise, like everything that Gunn has done in the past, like if you've seen his films, he handles a cast pretty well. And I think he's able to tell a story, that you can say like this movie is about this character. Like, and there's a tree in it and there's an alien guy and a green thing, but like this was about, Peter Quill's kind of story of figuring out who he is as a hero, right? Like that's I like when you talk about a movie like Guardians, right? I think, Superman's going to be even more of that. These other characters will just be there, not necessarily in the whole movie. They're probably like in a couple of scenes. I mean, who knows? I just don't think he's gonna do that type of a film, and I don't think we got that film in the DC universe anyways. Like BVS, like that film, with the cameos and stuff at the end, those were kind of like ham-fisted and didn't really make sense.
Oh, the email scene's horrible. Those didn't. Somebody who enjoys that movie. It's my least favorite.
Yeah, like those are very quite every cameo in that film was like, wait, what is that? The Flash? I don't even know what's going on in this scene, right? Like there was. I don't think Gunn's going to do something like that. I think he's a better storyteller than Snyder, right? Snyder, amazing visuals. Gunn, man, my mom knows who Groot is. Like he made it happen.
Here's the thing, and I'm going to steal this from Reno because he came up with this. I was talking to him.
You gotta talk like
it's me, Reno, French Canada. You know me. I got Montreal. Yes, go Canadians. Yes, Viva Expos. So I was talking to Reno, and he brought this up, and I think this is a fantastic point. When you mention Gunn and his Guardians movies, you're talking about Gunn, the director, the producer. Now we're talking about Gunn, the head of a producer, the director, the writer in the Guardians. And now for DCU, he's producer Gunn. Yeah. He's not worried about one group of 5 characters, their story. He's worried about this whole thing. And that's where I started. And that's why, like I said, like, I think at one point Snyder's ambitions got the best of him, you know, when they're talking about Man of Steel 2. And he's like, well, what about if Kryptonite shows up at Wayne Manor? And then everyone's like, oh, and then all of a sudden, I think his ideas were it was too much for him to handle. Like I get like that too. I just get really excited and I get a lot of energy. And it's like, I shot like 15 Red Bulls.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, is that a possibility for Gunn? Is managing an entire universe almost impossible like this, because we've only seen one person do it. And now even that one person in Kevin Feige has gotten to the point where he has lost control and he's trying to regain it. Right. Yeah. So like, we've seen Universal do this. We've tried to with Dark Universe and it failed. The DC Universe failed. Transformers and GI Joe. We don't even know what the hell's going on over there. Right? They tried to do a crowd, like you've seen everyone else try to build these shared universes that don't work, and it seems like the only one that who has done it, because you don't even like the CW. So that's another one. You all say that failed anyway. So I'll throw that in the pile because everyone hates it.
I just don't like Felicity.
Yeah, you don't like Hawkman either. There's a lot you don't like. And you don't like Mr. Terrific. So don't act like you don't like
Wait, one. I love Mr. Terrific, but not
on the CW.
Yeah, oh gosh. Terrible.
Okay. Again, it failed. Kowalski
redeem it.
But that's it. Like, is this job going to be too much? And I don't know the answer to that. It's just a question of concern I have as a fan.
Yeah.
Because I want the best possible movie. Like, that's it. That's all I want. Yeah. I want everyone to enjoy this stuff, dude. I want us to walk out like we just walked out of The Dark Knight after every movie. Like, I want everyone to talk about it. I want everyone to enjoy it. I want there to be buzz. The last thing I want is for people to be like, Justice League sucked, huh? Like, it wasn't fun for me. It wasn't.
I think he probably knows how to work with the team. He's only directing Superman. Like, so far, he hasn't said he's directing all the other films. So once Superman's done, he has.
You
I
think
think
he's not going to
set.
direct a Superman sequel?
I don't know. Maybe he does, but like,
There's no
how
way he
soon?
lets his
Hey,
character go.
how soon does that go? How does he, set up their writing room and directors and
That's a word I'm scared of. Set up.
yeah. How does he
Like,
set? Oh, I mean, I'm sure he's gonna
because I'm worried they're worried about setting up the next film instead of worried about legacy.
No, I don't think that's it at all. They're not setting up the next film. They're writing. They're he's got his writers room. He's got King and Hansen and whoever else is in that room, and I think they're putting their ideas together. And he also has what's his face? What's his partner name again? Saffron.
Saffron
Has him to
Peter.
help out.
Great
So
name.
he's got he's got Saffron in there on the business side of it, right? I don't know, man. I feel he definitely probably has a handle on what he's trying to do. Remember, he was going to head up Marvel Cosmic before he got fired. They Feige was bringing him on in a larger role to
That
head
is
up
true. That
the
is
Marvel
true.
Cosmic side of things, and it just never panned out because of like Disney.
And we don't know. Maybe that little bit of experience. Maybe he was privy to some things that we don't know about. Right? Like
Yeah.
meetings wise, business wise. Maybe that experience it will be beneficial to him. You
Yeah,
know?
I think
And
so. I think
Feige seems to love him. Like they seem to be on speed dial.
yeah, I think he's seen how the machine works, and I think he's seen how the machine doesn't work. And I think he's probably going, "Hey, I don't like that I had to do this. I'm not going to do that. Here's what I did like.
Mhm.
Here's how you make a map, and here's how you create freedom and storytelling."
Well, here's that. I love you. Here's a segue.
Yeah.
Freedom
Yeah.
storytelling. I
Yeah.
do think that the topic of you're not going to get a good director to come in and do the shared universe because of storylines and going to be stifling, right? I think there's some truth to that, but I think the fact that Gunn is a director himself and not a producer like Feige, I think
Yeah.
there's a little bit of leeway. But I don't know, man. Like I
Then don't do the job. That's the thing. Like if you don't want to direct, Martian Manhunter movie
mhm.
because they're saying, "Hey, man, we want you to do Martian Manhunter, and he's a detective from another planet, and you can do some really cool stuff." But here's the thing, like we do want to eventually, put John in a Justice League film, right? So here's the story. Here's what we've kind of worked on. You want to look over it with your team? Yeah, I mean, see, oh man, I love John Jones. I love that character. Like, just bring someone who's passionate about that idea, and they'll execute it fine. But if you are going to do paint by numbers, which Marvel's done, Marvel did that, and for a little bit it worked, and then you're like, oh, Ant-Man 3, it didn't work. Like, what happened? And then they also, I think it's okay to have producer driven films, right? I think it's okay. I think where Marvel screwed up is they didn't tighten the reins down on someone like Taika Waititi when he did Love and Thunder. Like, that was too much Taika, not enough Marvel. And they learned, like, oh shoot, like
There's
we
certain people
misfired
that have
here.
to be reined in.
Yeah, or it has to be the right person. Like,
Yeah.
and Ragnarok's great, right? And all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
y'all went just too far. Y'all went Batman and Robin, and like
Yeah.
that
I don't know.
you have
I
to you have
mean,
to course correct now.
I can't say because like I said on the last BOF social hour with Bill, like even the MCU, like Ryan Coogler, they've had Coogler, they had Raimi, and they've had
Yeah.
Favreau. Like, I'm not claiming again, Favreau is not the greatest director of all time, but he is a big time name in Hollywood writer, right? He's more of a writer originally than the director, but he's had his fair share. I mean, he loves swingers. He's no slouch. Like,
Yeah.
granted, the Russos are frauds. I'll say that in any podcast.
Why don't you like the Russos? I don't understand.
Because every movie they make sucks. They don't make any good movies. The only movie they
What?
made that was decent was under the eyes of Feige. That's it. They literally are nothing. Those are
Winter
Feige's movies.
Soldier is like my number one Marvel movie.
It's my yeah, but I guarantee you it has nothing to do with them. They're not they're
Aren't they Italian, bro? Aren't they Italian?
they're from like Sardinia, so it's the other island no one cares.
I don't know.
I got no love for the Russos. I got no love.
I
for
haven't
them.
seen.
But there
I
are
haven't seen
millions
their.
of directors like that. Like there's directors.
I
all
haven't
over
seen
the-
their non-Marvel stuff, so I don't know. But like the
Go
stuff they did at
watch
Marvel.
You, Me, and Dupree and get back to me. I believe that's.
Oh, they did that. That movie's funny.
Oh God.
They used to do stuff on Community. I remember they used to direct.
Yeah, they should
stuff.
stay there. Yeah, I got no love for those guys. But like again, it's all just concern. it seems that the internet just went crazy over like the last 48 hours over this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people should be taking shots at others just because they're concerned. You know,
Yeah.
how you display your concern, whether it's in the form of humor that somebody's too dumb to get,
Yeah.
or I don't know, sarcasm, whatnot. Like people can be concerned, and I'm very concerned. I just am. I'm
Mm.
concerned with this whole genre. I'm, you know, it doesn't keep me up at night, but I'm to the sense of I enjoy this stuff. Like this past
Yeah.
run of comic book movies was pure bliss for me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm someone who didn't watch TV shows before The Flash. Literally,
Mm.
The Flash is what brought me to television. Like
Wow.
I watched Sopranos with my parents after Sunday dinner. That was like it. Like that's it.
Yeah.
I watched the Yankees. After that, I was being a kid and doing stupid shit, or chasing
Yeah.
after girls or whatever. Like I was never watching TV. Like I didn't watch this
Yeah.
stuff until superheroes came around. So like this stuff is it's it's important to me, but like I can't have it just fall to the wayside and be an afterthought of like what it was. You
Yeah.
know,
I don't think it's gonna be what it was. I think moving forward, if the smaller budgets,
I agree.
that will help
They
with
got to scale
expectations.
back.
You know, that's why like Shazam was a way more profitable film than BVS. You know, they had a
Mhm.
smaller budget. You know, Joker, whatever. Like you can have smaller scale stories, and I don't want to like go all the way down that path, but I think if you rein in budgets, you can
I
have a
think
franchise
scale
that
within
goes
the
for a
size of
while.
your universe as well is when I'm talking
Hmm.
about scaling back. Like, look, I liked Blue Beetle. Did
Yeah.
we need to have a Blue Beetle movie? Did we need just that?
We don't. Do we need any movie?
Well,
I
that's what
think
I'm
if
saying. I
someone,
don't know. Like some characters, I don't know if they need like even Captain Marvel. Like I know the first one made 1 billion, but the second one's ridiculed and everyone Brie Larson's made fun of across the internet. Like, do we
yeah,
need a Captain Marvel? Like, I get it. Batman, Spider-Man, Captain America. Like, the A list, 100%. I
yeah.
get why they need
But
it. But
look
I'm
at
talking about the lower tier characters.
did we need Guardians of the Galaxy?
I
And that
agree.
thing blew
That's
up.
another one too. Like, you
Yeah,
would have never thought to make that movie, but it became a
yeah,
huge franchise.
yeah. I think there
But
has
see,
to be a
because
little
that
bit of
worked, you
risk.
don't question it. If it doesn't, you do.
Yeah, but I would say Blue Beetle is, and I saw Blue Beetle. It is whatever. But when you compare it to something like Guardians, Guardians told a great story that was emotional. Blue Beetle was paint by numbers. Blue Beetle, like
You've seen the movie before.
I saw the movie. I finally saw it like, a month or so after it came out. I watched it. It was whatever. Like who's the villain? I can't even tell you because it sucked. They didn't do it.
Carapax.
Yeah, who
Yeah,
the crap is that?
I don't know. It's a horrible
It
looking
was
OMAC.
it was horrible. Susan Sarandon was horrible.
Yeah.
Like Zolo was great. Like there was some really good stuff, but like James Gunn even said that he's all some of these movies that what story are they telling? And I was like, I love that he said that. He's all you can't just do a sequel and go, okay, we're gonna Ant-Man 2 this, right? Like some people like Ant-Man 2. I thought it was like, Ant-Man 2 was whatever. Who's
It's
like
okay.
it's okay. It's like first one was great.
Yeah,
And maybe we don't need Ant-Man 2. Maybe we don't need Blue Beetle 2.
I
Maybe Blue
agree.
Beetle just needs to be a character that's around and we can throw him in something. I don't know. Like there has to be a purpose to the story you're telling, or else it's just you're just, throwing cereal in a bowl. Like maybe people will watch the sequel. I think people will get tired of sequels. They're like,
I think they are. I think we're
yeah, like
here. I think
I
this is
just
it.
watched Aquaman 2 last night.
What did
They
you
didn't
think?
I didn't. They didn't need to make that movie.
Really? That's sad.
There
I
was no
really enjoyed it.
I from the get go, I was like, oh, this movie's. It's just not the right tone for me though either. I don't like that version of Aquaman. Oliver, my son, Levin, he loved it. He's like, Dad, that was actually a really good movie. Like that was the first thing he said when it was done. And then, but he was really bummed about the ending scene. He was like, oh, what is it? I was like, buddy, it's not going to be anything. There's not leading up to anything. And then he was like, ugh,
I thought it was
oh,
hysterical myself. I was like,
ate a
I was like, oh, that
hamburger.
joke carries
Yeah.
over. I like that.
I mean that ending scene is perfectly encapsulates the DC films. Like,
Yeah.
man, a tasty burger with a freaking cockroach in it. Like that's how that thing went down.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, hey,
man.
but again, like I said, I'm for the most part, I enjoy
Yeah.
everything. I
Yeah.
I found enjoyment in that Gotham Knights show. Like I give everything a shot.
Yeah. You do. You put in the work, and I think you have you're not as discerning, I think, as like you can just say take it for entertainment's value, and I get that. I think with the changing landscape of like just movies in general, whether they're comic book, Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible, whatever. I think you have to like, is this a story we need to tell? And in like the case with this, hey, Gunn says he needs to tell this Batman story, and he can't wait for Matt Reeves to finish his story up. So he needs to tell this story, and he's running the studio. He gets to do what he wants. I'm excited for it just because I like Gunn, and I'm like, I'm hoping he creates something fun for everybody. I hope he creates a Batman movie that kids can go watch, but it's not dumbed down. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to see a Batman Forever, but I don't want to see something so dark kids can't enjoy it either. Like, there's a medium. There's a way to make it happen.
I want somewhere between Batman Returns and Batman Forever.
Maybe.
I look, James Gunn he's never delivered something I didn't enjoy. Like I didn't like Guardians 2. I mean, there's one thing I don't like Guardians 2. It's not my favorite movie.
I like Guardians 2. I think there's
most people do. So like, I'm not going to really hold it against.
I don't know. I hear most people hate it. That's really the whole thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, Guardians 2 is the worst." And I'm like, I had a good time with Guardians 2.
Okay, I know Eric doesn't like it as well. But like I said it about James Wan. I said about Andy Muschietti. At one point I even said it about Zack Snyder. And then that zombie movie in Vegas came out. And I did not like that.
Hey, I don't think Muschietti is going to be the guy.
I've been saying that since day one. I think all that. I think that announcement was just to prop up the Flash. We have confidence in this guy. He directed this movie, and we are going to give him the next Batman movie. You guys are going to love this. So go see.
If there's a misfire to any of this DC stuff, that's been the misfire. Like, you guys shouldn't have announced that.
Because I don't know. It also, the Flash also doesn't seem like a movie that was up. It seemed like he did it because he's a WB guy as opposed to that he really wanted to. But and he's probably attracted to the fact that he could play with Michael Keaton as Batman. You're talking to Keaton fanboys right here. Like, if someone said that to us, we probably would have accepted the job.
Yeah. Yes,
you guys want to do the Flash? Just be like, I'll work with that creep so I can hang out with Keaton.
Oh, no, I would have fired him, dude. I would have fired him right away. Well, did you see the interview with Matthew Vaughn, where he was just like, if they wanted me to do the Flash, I would have recast the Flash.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn said a lot. Matthew Vaughn has had a lot of things to say about the DC universe within the last week.
Yeah,
you want to hear more about that? Straight out of Gotham.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Straight Out of Gotham is your place to listen.
There you go.
We'll be talking about that. But it's funny you brought up Fast and Furious not too long ago, and we're going to talk about this on SOG, but to bring it up here, as I think it's very fascinating. Kurt Russell, he did an interview recently where he was talking about why he never went from Snake Plissken in Escape from New York, LA to the character in Metal Gear Solid. And his quote was very interesting. I'm paraphrasing, but it was along the lines of, when I was doing this in my era, we did what we had to do and then we moved on. We didn't worry about franchises. If something came up later on that I wanted to do, I did it. And if I didn't, I didn't. So, and basically, like, Escape from LA came up, he wanted to do it, and it was so many years later, and he was like, okay. And the video game came up, and he said, no, but I thought it was interesting. Franchises weren't a thing. When did studios get so fascinated with, we need this one thing 12 times over? Like, because you mentioned Fast and Furious, Star Wars, stuff like that. And it's fascinating. Like,
I think Star Wars showed that a franchise can make money.
Okay.
I think that's,
as I'm born in 86. This is kind of all I know. By the time I was paying attention to things, Batman was already franchised, right? In terms of, it was Returns. I was basically, just starting to figure things out when Returns was, by the time Forever came out, like, I was immersed. So like franchises my whole life. This wasn't always the truth.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, and again, Batman '89 blew up. I don't know if they.
Are you sure? Some people tell me it's not that huge.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They were drinking. Like, Batman '89 was so huge that they ran out of product. Like, like the deals, the licensing deals they put out there, it was like, oh crap, we didn't. The only body who knew what was going on was Jack Nicholson, apparently, because that guy made tons of money on merchandise. Yeah. Like, he had the back end deal to know what was up. But I think a lot of stuff plays into that. I think stuff like Batman '89. I think Star Wars kind of, hey, franchises, we can make a lot of money on franchises. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that was always the way of action movies. I consider like Superman to be more of an action movie franchise take. Like back then, there were still like sequels and
I
serials.
think 89
No.
Returns are totally action movies. Like of the
Yeah, yeah.
time, they're
Yeah.
totally like 80s action. I mean, I think that's a big reason why Batman is allowed to kill in those movies, because I think he's translated from comic book character to 80s action star, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's how they justify it and how I've justified it in my head.
Yeah. I don't know how, like, I think about movies like Rambo, Rocky, those are franchises from the 80s and stuff. Like we're telling a story with these characters, but were they all like major box office hits? I don't know. I don't someone better than me.
I don't
knows all
know
that
if
stuff.
those movies do what movies do today, which are literally set up the sequel by the end of the previous film.
Not at all.
Or by the current film you're watching. Like
Yeah.
usually, the MCU. Well, you could yell into the sky about Ferris Bueller being the originator,
Yeah.
but the MCU has turned the post credit scene into essentially a short trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I mean, it worked for a little bit.
It did, and people love them, and people expect them now in every movie. To be honest with you, I wonder if people sat at the end of Oppenheimer for a post-credit scene.
No, I think people like the last movie I saw in theaters that was a post-credit scene deal. Shoot, besides the Flash, I think it was Shazam, and people just got up and left. They're like, "Wow, whatever." They didn't.
Which Shazam?
The second one.
Okay.
Yeah, people left. They when it was over, they left, and it was like, oh, no one's waiting. I think some people are
they
like,
didn't miss anything. It also didn't make sense. I'll say this though, that post credit scene is still not the worst. The worst post credit scene all time belongs to Morbius.
See, I saw that one online. I still haven't seen Morbius. I just watched it on YouTube. I was like, what's this scene all about?
Dude,
I won't watch it.
I talk about it all the time because I love it. It's one of I would love to see the original cut of Morbius. I think it would be more than any cut of whatever hashtag movie you want. The original cut of Morbius, I think, would be fascinating to watch because I think it's very different.
Oh, what was it?
There's a lot of scenes that are cut or whatever. Like at one point, Tyrese had the mechanical arm. They cut that out entirely. The scenes with Keaton and Morbius themselves are different. Just watch the trailer. Their interaction is different.
Okay.
You could tell they switched it up. So like the Sony universe of of Spider-Man Marvel characters fascinates me because it's like you guys think that Matt, you guys, if it was Spider-Man, I would be shitting my pants because I think they're totally clueless. I think I finally think Marvel's got their shit together when it comes to Spider-Man. Like I think they actually know what they're going to do. Like I'm actually confident in them for the first time. But like what Sony's doing with all their villains, I'm just like, if this was DC, I would be in a vegetative state. I would be in Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. I would be unconscious for like 7 months. Like that's it. My mother would be like, "Oh, he's too young. What's going on?" by the bedside, like carrying on like a good old Italian mother. Like what they're doing there is absolutely dreadful. But it's a wonderful car crash. I can't wait.
Hey, I actually am I'm interested in Madam Web. Like I was like, hey, this looks kind of.
I think Madam Web's going to be similar to Venom more than the others. I think it's going to be. I think it'll make some money. I think people would enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting a vibe from that movie because it's got the Nico Caruso All-Star team on there. Like
oh yeah, it's
every
Nico's Angels.
Twitter chick except for Kristen Stewart, every chick on Twitter's in that movie. So
yeah,
we'll
see.
It's
and it's got Ezekiel. I'm curious about Ezekiel. I remember that story with Ezekiel.
Ezekiel's dude. The Madam Web Ezekiel stuff's interesting. I'm more of a wheelchair Madam Web type guy, but
she gets there though because this is her as a young Madam Web. Right?
We'll see. This more was the Carpenter version. This is a different character, I believe, entirely.
All right.
So we'll see. But hey, I never thought I'd see a Madam Web movie. I swear to I was happy with her from the Fox Spider-Man show. I was really content with that. That's all I was ever going to get, a Madam Web. But hey, she's around. So we'll see what happens. I think that comes out very soon.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. It might be
Bring on. What was the Bad Bunny one that got canceled?
Oh no, it's back on track actually. Murto.
They got it back on track.
They're back on track.
What with Bad Bunny?
I think they're going to recast, but I think.
Oh, nice. Well,
again, Straight Outta Gotham. Check that out for all the other news that isn't Batman.
There you go, guys.
But yeah, this was a fun conversation. I think we talked about a lot. We covered a lot of areas.
We still love each other, Pete.
Well, your opinions suck, but I love you. You're overall you're a good friend and a good
I'm
guy.
a good guy, man.
Yeah, once you put that space helmet on, you turn into a
Oh,
weirdo.
I don't want that man in space, dude. I don't want him in space. He can be on the satellite. That's fine.
You're
But he
like,
doesn't need to be in space.
If Batman has to be in space, can he at least teleport from the Batcave to the Watchtower? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
need
he'll teleport.
I don't need a
in.
rocket ship,
And he won't be happy about it. He'll always be like,
the Joker's loose in Gotham. You got 15 minutes. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's that. And that, Pete, see, you just synthesized the idea. That's as long as he's in character.
Oh, I have lots of great ideas.
Even if he's just like, I shouldn't be here. What is this?
Yeah,
like the reluctantly.
To be honest, if Gunn goes like super fantastical and makes a Batman, like the James Gunn DCU Batman movie or Justice League film, and literally the opening scene is Batman being like, "There's the Joker's got a dirty bomb in Gotham. I can't be here." Like, and that's it. And we don't see in the rest of the movie. I'm totally fine with that.
Or then he's at the end and they're like, "Oh, my plan worked. Told you." You
should listen to me more.
Black
so stuff like, I don't know. Like I get it. Like to me, that's comic booky Batman. And that's
yeah.
But see, again, like because there's again like I do get a chuckle in BVS when he goes and hides under the rock when they're fighting Doomsday.
That was stupid. Well, I mean the whole thing that like why Batman was never in the Doomsday fight. Yeah. We saw what happened. Blue Beetle's head got caved in. Like
he had that one grenade.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, anyway, back to the closing argument. Our closing statement. I did have a blast. We did have a lot of fun. And we still are friends. So, you guys don't have to. I mean, I don't know. If you want to talk it out, I guess you can join us on the podcast. You don't have to take shots at us, as long as you're not a whack job. Maybe that's something we should do instead of writing in to hate on us. Why don't you join us for a conversation?
Oh yeah, bring it on. Bring
that
it
might
on.
Be something of interest, but
most people want you to be a villain. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to shake hands.
Mm-hmm.
Find some common ground. You have more power in their mind when you're their adversary. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was like, oh, look at it, he blocked me.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to. He blocked me. All right,
See you later. See you later, Phil.
Yeah, that seems like a good enough place to end it.
There you go.
Justin, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter /X/ the what did you call it? The Musk machine. The Musk machine. Justin M. Kowalski. Find me there and then somewhere else later.
Okay.
Yeah, on a show. I mean, like a podcast.
Okay.
Maybe,
all right. Like, find me around a bridge in California with some homeless people. Like,
with a beanie on. He's gonna rob us with this beanie.
Anyway, you can follow me on social media at Pete Illustrated. I do co-host a podcast with Eric Holzman, a news-based fanboy podcast, Straight to Gotham at straight_O_G, and anywhere you can find your good podcasts. I have a Spider-Man themed podcast at Spidey Coalition on Twitter. It's called the Italian Spider-Man Coalition. Check that out. We just published a new episode last week. I appear on Ryan Lauer's The Batman Book Club as well. You can check that out. We do monthly recap episodes. BatmanOnFilm.com, Batman on Film YouTube, and Batman on Film podcast. We're all over that. Check us out. We got lots of good content stuff. Even if you don't agree with us, we have really good opinions. I think the best in the business. If you're really, to be honest, no one does it better than we do. Not to toot our own horn, but we put in the work and we know what we're talking about. So I'm very proud to be on the mic with these fine men that I always talk to each and every
doing
week.
the work,
yep.
Getting it in.
So thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Batman on Film podcast. Before announcer Rachel takes us out, Justin, authoritative, definitive,
the original.
Hey, daggum, I'm gonna get it out of this California.
I can't do it. I can't. I'm not from.
Take that beanie off and put a cowboy hat on. That's why.
There you go. I'll find a cowboy hat.
Okay.
Kick
Later on, everyone.
You've been listening to the original and official podcast of the Batman on Film website. Follow BOF on Threads at the Batman on Film. Follow BOF on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Batman on Film. To keep BOF up and running, go to patreon.com/Batman on Film, or you can buy BOF a beer at buymeacoffee.com/TheRealBatmanOnFilm. For Jet and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original. Batman on Film, founded in 1998.